بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
Assalamu alaikum. It is Tuesday, the 1st of February 2022. And in our series, Reflections on the Holy Quran, this is broadcast number 296. And today we'll start considering the words of chapter 2, Al-Baqarah, verse 98. And this is the first part of that series or sub-series. Just to remind you that these broadcasts are brought to you by the Lahore Ahmadiyya community, which was established by Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad of Qadian. And he taught us that although other Muslims want to bring another prophet after the Holy Prophet Muhammad, the Holy Quran says that the Holy Prophet was Khatamun Nabiyyin, and the Holy Prophet himself explained the meanings of this expression by saying, La Nabiyya Ba'di, there is no prophet after me. So now no prophet can come, whether an old one or a new one. And the Holy Prophet Muhammad, Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad pointed this out, that the Holy Prophet Muhammad also said that when reform is needed, then reformers, Mujaddideen, will appear amongst the Muslims. And of course, this will lead to disagreement. The reformer will say that what you're doing is wrong, and people will say, well, we found our fathers and grandfathers doing this, so you're telling me that they were wrong, and so on. And but the Holy Prophet Muhammad said that these differences do not entitle one reciter of the Kalima to say to another reciter of the Kalima, you're not a Muslim. As the Holy Prophet said, that if one reciter of the Kalima says this, then heresy returns to the person who said it. And again, Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad pointed out that Muslims say some prophetic revelation is missing from the Holy Quran. They say things like Ayah Rajam, Surah Walayat, etc. are not in the Holy Quran. But he said, all prophet, Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad said, all prophetic revelation is in the Holy Quran, because God says that I have revealed it and I will guard it. So how can it be that he sent some revelation and it's missing and God is guarding it? Similarly, Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad said that there are Muslims who say that parts of the Holy Quran are abrogated. And he said this is totally untrue. Nothing that has been revealed to the Holy Prophet and is in the Quran was, is, or ever will be abrogated. And Hazrat Sahib also said that jihad is a fundamental duty of every Muslim. But jihad, as defined by the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who, when returning from fighting, said that Muslims were returning from the minor jihad to the major jihad, and then went on to explain that the major jihad is jihad bin nafs, jihad with your own selves, jihad with your own souls. That is the major jihad. Without conducting that, you can't even conduct jihad-e-asghar or the minor jihad. You take an example. You go out to fight the enemy, whoever it is, and the enemy says, come and join us. And this has actually happened. And we'll make you the head of state if we win. Now you have to do jihad bin nafs. If you don't do that, then you wouldn't be doing jihad-e-saghir, or fighting for Islam against enemies of Islam. Anyway, let's go to chapter 2, verse 98 of the Holy Quran, and see what we find. Oh, the marker is in the wrong place. Let's put the marker in the correct place first, if we can find it. Right, here we are. That's better. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم من كان عدوا لله وملائكته ورسله وجبريل وميكال فإن الله عدو للكافرين. Whoever is an enemy to Allah, whoever is an enemy to Allah and his angels and his messengers and Gabriel and Mikael, then surely Allah is an enemy to disbelievers. So we won't look at man kana, which is the equivalent of whoever is. And the first word we look at is aduwan. So let's have a look at what that tells us. Its triliteral root is Ain Dal Va. And it occurs, the words made from this triliteral root occur 106 times in the Holy Quran, and in 13 different forms, or this masdar, this triliteral root is found with words combined in 13 different ways in the Holy Quran. So 50 times, I said 106 times total, 50, which is half of it, is aduv. And then 15 times you have iqada. So that's 50, 65, and then you have smaller occurrences, 6 times adawat. That word is in Urdu as well. It means enmity. 6 times, and then, actually, yeah, I missed this. 8 times Udvan, and then 6 times Muqtadin, and that is in Urdu as well, and so on. And 3 times it's Muqtad, and that is in Urdu as well. So let us see what these words mean, what their significance is. The main significance or the meaning is that distancing, creating a distance or distancing people. So if you have two pieces of wood and you put another piece of wood between them to create distance, you will have al-idaya. That's created distance. So because the basic idea this is trying to give is the two things are not close. That is why these give the idea of enmity and enemy. Aduwan is an enemy, and it is the antonym of sadiqan, which is friend, or waliyan, which means helper, supporter. So it is the opposite of both of those. And Imam Raghib has said that it means, or the one means to exceed the boundaries, to exceed the bounds. And it also means not to have mutual confidence or relations, and so on. So where are we? If I can find it, let us see what the Holy Quran says that this word means. Let's see. So, as I said, it means, to exceeding the boundaries, and not having mutual confidence, mutual relationships, mutual affinity together. And if it's related to the way you feel, then it's called adawatan and mu'awadatun. And if it's interference in justice and so on that is required, then you say udwanun, and also adwun. For example, faya sabbullaha adwan bighayri ilm. Chapter 6, verse 108. They may not, without realizing, without having knowledge, use derogatory, disrespectful words, language for Allah. And you can see what lesson this verse of the Holy Quran is trying to teach the Muslims. That here are people who worship idols. And what is God saying? Don't even use derogatory language for what they worship, because it may be that this annoys them and they in turn disrespect Allah. And you see, this is a clear example of how the Holy Quran tries to create peace and harmony between people. What will happen? It doesn't matter whether the God is false or true or whatever it is, or but if you disrespect, if you insult those that other people hold in high regard, what are they going to do? They're going to turn around and they're going to insult Allah. They're going to insult that or those whom you hold in high regard and respect. And you see, we Muslims have this habit of doing this, don't we? We think we are better than everyone else, we are superior to everyone else, and we go around strutting about like peacocks arrogantly, insulting other people, their beliefs, their customs, and so on. You see, Lahore Ahmadiyya movement is not about, falsely pretending things. But what we are about is that when you talk to people, talk to them in a way that doesn't put them off, that attracts you to it, that attracts them to Islam. If you go about poking fun at them, being arrogant, what are they going to do? The best thing they'll do is they'll close their eyes and ears, and your words will just go over their heads, because they'll just ignore you. And this is also the first statement of secularism. In Muslim countries, people arrogantly, derogatorily talk about secularism. But what is secularism? That is secularism. That's a statement of secularism. The Holy Prophet, when he set up the state of Medina that people keep talking about, oh, if we only have the state of Medina, everything would be fine. Yes, you're quite right. But a basic condition of that treaty, of that constitution that everyone signed, well, if not everyone, then all the leaders of communities, it said everyone's free to hold and preach and propagate their religion and practice it. State of Medina will have nothing to do with that. As long as you are loyal to the state of Medina, as long as you don't connive and plan with its enemies. That is the first time a state was based on the idea that as long as people are loyal to you, then it's not for you to interfere in their religion or beliefs and practices and so on. And yet, without understanding, we denigrate that idea and we poke fun at it and so on. But that, although literally that verse talks about deities which are worshipped, it can also be taken to mean the ideas that people hold dear, which is quite close to worshipping someone. We have the normal phrases, don't we? He worships the ground she walks on, and that kind of thing. Anyway, so chapter 7, verse 24, the Holy Quran says, Ba'dukum li ba'din adun. And from now, some of you will be enemies of others. Adun. So here the word is used to mean enemies. Yawma yuhsharu Aghda'ullah. Chapter 41, verse 19. And the day when God's enemies, Aghda'ullah, will be taken to punishment, taken to hell. Now, this concept of enemy, al-adu, there are two types. One who set out to damage you and hurt you. As the Holy Quran says in chapter 4, verse 92, وَإِن كَانَ مِنْ قَوْمٍ عَدُوٍّ لَكُمْ. And if the person killed is from among your enemies. So these are people who are openly your enemies. And then chapter 24, verse 31, جَعَلْنَا لِكُلِّ نَبِيٍّ عَدُوًّا مِّنَ الْمُجْرِمِينَ. And from the sinners, we made people enemies of the prophets. So these people are openly inimical to God's message, God's messengers, and so on. Aduwan shayateen al-insi wal jinni. And devils and jinns. They are every messenger's enemies. Now here, devils, shayateen, al-ins. That means devils from among the people. Or in other words, people who have devilish inclinations or nature. In jinn, we'll discuss in more detail when we come to it, but it also means things you cannot see. So this can mean that there are some people that you can see whose nature is like that of the devil, and some people you cannot see. And God has made from them enemies. So these are openly enemies. And in a way, it is easy to defend yourself against such enemies because they are openly enemies. And you can see that they are. And you'll be careful of them, from them. If they ask you to do something, you'll say, oh, why is he asking me to do this? He must have some ulterior motive. But then there are those who don't deliberately set out to be your enemies. But what they do hurts you in the same way as an action by an enemy. And in chapter 26, verse 77, this is referred to as فَإِنَّهُمْ عَدُوٌّ لِّي إِلَّا رَبَّ الْعَالَمِينَ. They are my enemies, but for Rabb al-Alameen, Allah, God. So, but he is my friend. But an interesting one is, the Holy Quran says about children, chapter 64, verse 14, عَدُوًّا لَكُمْ فَاحْذَرُوهُمْ. They are, among them are your enemies, so guard against them. Be careful with them. So this will surprise you. You will say, children, you make all kinds of sacrifices for children and etc. And, you make sure that they're properly fed, even if you are hungry, and so on and so forth. Barring a few bad parents, of course. So how can they be your enemies? The point is that they don't set out to hurt you, but what they do actually hurts you in the same way as if they had set out to damage you and hurt you. An example is that, your son goes out and for some reason he kills someone. There are no witnesses, but suspicion falls on him for some reason. And he says, it wasn't me. It wasn't me. I was with dad. Or I was with mum. I was there all evening. We were sitting watching television. Go and ask them. Now, what do? What are you going to do? The police come to your door. And if you speak the truth, your son may go to prison for, 10 years, 20 years. Or in some countries, they may hang him. But then on the other hand, the Holy Quran says, bear witness, bear true witness, even if it's against those that you love. So your child has hurt you in the same way as an outright enemy would have hurt you. And Well, you'll have to decide whatever you decide. And I'm proud to say that in the Lahore Ahmadiyya community, I have personal experience of our elders who spoke the truth, who gave true evidence even against their near and dear ones, their children. And that was the difference that the promised Messiah made. That we didn't just read the Holy Quran, bear true witness, and moved on. Our elders implemented that in their lives. With that, our half hour is up, so I take my leave of you with the prayer that whoever you are and wherever you may be, may Allah protect the whole of humanity from harm and damage. Assalamu alaikum, Khuda Hafiz, goodbye.